This is an extract from Chapter 2 of my latest book, Julia and the Master of Morancourt. Julia had been with her sister Sophie and her father to visit a neighbouring family, where it was being suggested she should marry the rather boring elder son, Jack. Sophie, her mother's favourite, had already given a highly coloured account of their day, the excursion that they had taken, with Jack riding with Sophie and Kit Douglas with Julia, and Sophie's success in jumping the wall when Jack's mount had refused. As so often happened, Mamma seemed to think that Julia had deliberately not ridden with Jack because she was being difficult, rather than it being the consequence of the headstrong way that Sophie had behaved. Her mother, always unwilling to consider any fault in Sophie, was about to speak again when the housekeeper, Mrs. Andrews, came into the room. "There is a package in the hall from Mr. Douglas for Miss Julia." Mrs. Andrews had obviously been impressed by the messenger, for she ventured to add, "It was delivered by a tall young gentleman, ma'am." "A package from Mr. Douglas? How exciting! What can it be?" said Sophie, rushing ahead of her sister towards the hall to inspect the parcel. Julia, following more slowly with her mother, was puzzled. Why would Mr. Douglas want to send her a package and by a special messenger? She took the parcel, a neatly wrapped box, and carefully undid the ribbon and took off the paper wrapping. Underneath, inside the silk-lined box, was a new pair of red leather shoes. "Maybe they were sent by Jack Douglas," exclaimed Sophie. "I don't think that is very likely," said Julia, very quietly. "How kind," said Mamma, coming up behind them to look at the contents of the box. "Perhaps your old shoes could not be found. These are such good quality, and just the right size for you, Julia. I have to admit that they are a very thoughtful gift." Sophie looked disgruntled, for she felt that she was more than due for a new pair of shoes, and not her elder sister. "I wish that I had lost my old shoes, then he would have sent some to me." Julia said nothing, and as soon as she could, put the shoes back in the box and slipped away to the privacy of her bedroom. There she sat on her bed and looked at the box. She lifted the lid and ran her hand around the lining of white-figured silk. Then she lifted the shoes out, one by one, and put them on the bed cover. The smooth red leather was of the highest quality, and the shoes had been beautifully lined with grey silk, with a pale grey silk cord binding. She looked at the shoes for a long time, running the tips of her fingers along the leather and turning them over and then back. Then she caught sight of a small folded piece of paper, nestling on the silk inside the box. She picked it up and loosened the seal, unfolded the edges, and read the words written on the paper. There was a short message in neat handwriting that said, "As I know that you like red shoes, I hope that you will accept these. They were made for a lady who did not have the chance to wear them. Thank you for visiting us yesterday." Julia read and then reread the message. She recognized the writing. The gift had not come from Jack Douglas or from his father, and from the description of the messenger, he had taken the trouble to deliver the shoes himself, since neither Jack nor his father could accurately be described as a tall young gentleman. But Kit Douglas knew exactly where Julia had left her old shoes. She had taken them off in the hall to put on her riding boots, and it was he who had given them to the butler for safekeeping. The servant could have been told to return them to her, so why had Kit Douglas not arranged that? And why had he wanted her to have these particular shoes, or decided to deliver them himself? The next day, Julia told her father about the parcel, about the red shoes, and about the note in the box. Her father read through the note slowly, and then again. He looked thoughtful. "No, this was not written by Harry Douglas. I would guess that the author is Kit." "Yes, I believe so. I recognized the writing." from the list that he had made of the books in the library. Her father looked at her warily and then said slowly, "Julia, young men do not normally give a valuable gift to young ladies who they have met only on a single occasion." "Yes, I know, and I guess that the shoes may have been made for his mother, who died just before he came back from Spain." Her father looked out of the window for some time and then back at Julia. "I'm not sure quite what to say to you about this. He is the younger son, and you know very well that it is Jack who will inherit the estate. His father told me that Kit had joined the military, hoping that he might make his way in the world, since he will only have a modest income otherwise. I would guess, you do not need to answer me, that you might like Kit much better than his elder brother, but it is Jack who could provide you with a secure future." She felt tears welling in her eyes and fought to hold them back. "Oh, Papa, why cannot I do as I want to and marry who I like?"